Hello and welcome. I am Lian Buan and this is Rappler Talk. And our guest tonight is probably one of the most trending topic on Twitter over the weekend. Sean James Borja from the Ateneo Law School, who topped the 2018 bar examinations with an impressive grade, may I say, of 89.3%. Hi, Sean.
Hi, Lian.
Thank you for coming to Rappler tonight.
Thank you for inviting me here.
I think the your Twitter fans want to make sure, are you on Twitter?
I am not on Twitter. Let it be known that I do not have a Twitter account.
Okay, so hindi ikaw si @attorney Sean James Borja.
No, I'm not.
Okay, so to everyone who's watching, Sean Borja is not on Twitter and he's not attorney Sean James Borja. Okay, so that out of the way, let's talk
Yes.
about on Friday. Where were you on Friday?
Actually, I was in my room on Friday when I got the news. It was 12 noon, and I was getting ready for my brother's birthday because we had a celebration. And then my phone was ringing, and then I knew that the bar results were out. Because I told my friend, okay pag yung bar results lumabas na, basta call me lang, and I'll be the one to check the results. So I picked up the phone, and then I was prepared to just check my results na. But when I picked up my phone, my friends started screaming, parang, Sean, congrats, #1 ka! Tapos parang ako, oh my God, sigo-sigo rin ako. And then, ayun, that's how my Friday noon turned out, no?
You
Just
were
shouting.
class valedictorian of the 2018
I
Ateneo Law.
was.
Yeah.
I was.
Pag ganun ba, ina-expect na sa'yo ng faculty of Ateneo and everyone around you that you will top the bar?
I think there was definitely that expectation and pressure. Especially during my graduation, I post with Attorney Ingles actually. Parang may kaming photo, #1. Parang sinasabi niya, uy, Sean, #1, no pressure, pero #1. So there was that conversation talaga with a lot of the faculty. I guess because it's also been a while since Ateneo has been on the top.
Yeah.
And so there was definitely pressure.
I think it was in 2012 pa, no? Si Mickey Ingles,
Attorney
I think.
Ingles,
Yes.
yes.
Oo nga. So, ikaw ba, when you were studying for the bar, kahit may pressure na when you were studying for the bar, did you want na talagang sana I'll be #1 or I'm aiming for #1?
Yes, actually, since my first year of law school, I've always wanted to top the bar. It's been my dream since first year. And so like going to the bar review, it was my mindset, no? Parang, okay, gigising ako, magtatop ako ng bar. So yes, to answer your question, yes.
Okay. Kanina, we had a video chat with the Rappler Plus members. And ang lahat ng tanong nila is tips naman daw kung paano mag-review for the bar. Paano ba yung studying habits mo?
I guess 3 points lang to answer that. #1 is have a schedule. My schedule was, for example, at 6 a.m., I would wake up, gym ng konti, para lang mapagana yung utak.
Nakakapag-gym pa, okay.
It's also for the brain rin kasi,
Okay.
diba? I mean, like, you need mental health. You need to balance your mental
Yeah.
health with reviewing. So, I went to the gym talaga deliberately. And then at 9 a.m., that's when I'd start studying. And then tuloy-tuloy na yun
Hanggang?
until 9 p.m.
Saan ka nag-aaral?
Iba-iba rin. But mostly Rizal Library in Ateneo.
Okay. Are you the type na nagka-coffee shop? Gano'n?
Actually, from time to time. Kasi like the library tends to be super quiet and nakakabagot rin minsan. So from time to time, I would go to Starbucks, Coffee Bean, mga ganyan. Just for a change of environment.
And
then,
is that 5 days a week? Or 7 days a week?
Well, at first it was 6 days a week, no? But then I guess mga October, nagiging 7 days a week na because of the pressure.
Malapit nung
malapit na.
mag-November that time.
Ayun, oo.
May tanong yung isang member, were you able daw to maintain a social life while you were studying for the bar?
I maintained as much of a social life as I could, I guess. My priority was family and friends lang, no? And sa friends na yun, it was my inner circle, my study group lang, who I'd been friends with since college pa.
So,
no?
saan mo sila sinisingit paggabi after 9 p.m.?
No, together kami, nag-aaral kami.
Oh,
So,
So, all these are law school buddies then?
law school buddies rin sila. So, from college, naging law school buddies. And then, until bar buddies, no? Yan.
Okay, serious naman tayo, Sean, if you don't mind. Okay. In your past interviews, you've talked about how you were bullied when
yes.
you were younger for being gay. So, if you don't mind, could you talk more about that? How were you bullied? When did this happen?
Okay. It happened in my early years of grade school. I think there were times na I guess I would act girly. Like one time, I think I went to to school with Q-tics because my mom had put Q-tics on me. And then I got teased the entire day. And I just felt horrible about myself. Like parang, I felt like there was something wrong with me. And that was just one instance, right? There was so much banter. There was so much teasing going on. Parang, bakla, bading, ganyan. As in to the point that, okay, this is pretty sad. But like, there would be days that I would really pray to God na, please, Lord, not today.
Yeah.
Not today. And I would consider it such a good day na hindi ako naasar or hindi ako na-tease. That was my good day back then. And so bullying was really a problem for me, no. But the bright side is it was when I realized that it can't be like this. It can't be like this where I'm always watching out. When my good day would have to be hindi ako inasar. And so the bullying experience actually, ironically, formed me to be who I am today. Somebody who wants to make sure na I will never be put into that spot again. I'm vulnerable. I'm always down, never an equal, and so. Yeah.
Did that experience instill in you that you wanted to become a lawyer, or at that age not necessarily, just you wanted to be someone? You wanted to be somebody in the future.
Yes, I just wanted to be somebody equal, somebody normal, if you will. So lawyering was actually not in the picture at the time. No, it was only in college that I realized that I want to be a lawyer. I want to have my own voice. And by extension, later on, be a voice for others who can't really speak their truth or speak what is on their mind.
You said na nga in your past interview that you want to be a voice for those who do not have voices. Let's go muna to the voice for the LGBT because that's one topic closest to your heart. Over the weekend, naapektuhan ka ba sa mga reaction ng mga tao about you being gay and you pushing for LGBT rights? There were negative comments on Twitter or on Facebook. Did you read them and were you affected?
I did read some just because my friends posted it. Para message nila ako about the hate messages. And for me, I wasn't super down about it. Only because there were a lot of the messages were using religion as backing. But for me kasi, I know a God that knows only love and acceptance. And a religion that only espouses hate and malice and selectivity is no religion of mine. And so for me, I wasn't really affected. I know my God loves and wants me to love in return. So for me, I really didn't try to mind it na.
And that speaks of the journey you've come from being the kid who was waiting for a good day to being this person who's so confident and who can tell those people who don't understand you that you're secure and you're confident with yourself. Okay, going to the legal side of the discussion of the LGBT rights. There's now sabi kasi nila, on the record, you favor same-sex marriage.
Yes.
Of course. But marami kasi nagsasabi na for a predominantly Catholic country such as the Philippines, the journey to same-sex marriage will be long. Parang may nagsabi sa akin dati na una muna daw divorce and then susunod divorce and then bago ka pa magkaroon ng same-sex marriage. So parang far-fetched daw at this point. Do you agree? Do you think the Philippines is ready for a same-sex marriage right now? Or do you think there are more pressing issues for the LGBT rights that need the attention or focus of advocates such as you?
I agree that, again, I am for same-sex marriage, just to be clear about that. But at the same time, I do recognize that the Philippines may not be ready yet. Because as you mentioned, Lian, there are so much more pressing issues. For example, the SOGI bill. And I think, for example, the SOGI bill will apply to every single person, married or not, whether there's a desire to get married or not. And I think that is a more pressing issue. Again, for example, like me being bullied as a kid, I wouldn't want my kid, if he turns out to be LGBT, to be treated that way. And I think there is that parang precursor, if you will, a precursor before we can even talk about marriage equality. So in that sense, I don't think the Philippines is ready yet. But at the same time, I think we're on the right track.
We're on the right
track. I think so.
Every time people are asked, kunyari, yung mga politicians or those running for office, are you in favor of same-sex marriage? Sabihin nila, no, but I'm for civil union. Attorney Sean James Borja, ano ba yung difference ng same-sex marriage and civil union, and why are people favoring the other more than the other?
I think kasi, I can't speak for everyone, no, but perhaps there is that notion that somehow marriage is a religious sacrament only and not a civil right.
Yeah.
But that's not correct. The Constitution specifically states that the right to marriage is a right, precisely. And so, and not only our Constitution, but international law itself dictates that marriage is a fundamental right. And so, trying to create a dichotomy is actually erroneous, no? Because it's a false dichotomy.
Yeah.
For me, there is no difference between marriage and civil union. If anything, more than that, I think, yun nga, parang marriage even grants those in, couples rather, extended rights, no, more rights than they would have under a non-marriage relationship. Yeah.
So parang you call it whatever you want to call it, just
Yes.
make it equal for everybody.
Yes.
To ano. You said one of the the advocacy closest to your heart is LGBT rights. Meron ka na bang naiisip right now of how you want to do that, what path you want to take to be able to pursue that track?
Actually, I've gotten this question before na parang, what would you tell Congress to do, ganyan. But honestly, I recognize that I am not an expert in legislative reform, no? And so I'll only speak of what I know. I know that I'm an advocate, and I know the little steps that need to be done. And I think those steps, for example, would entail, for example, participation in the Pride March, which is something I've been doing for the past few years now, ever since I came out. I think maybe aside from participation, perhaps maybe there's now a need to help organize maybe, or at least play a part in it. And I think this is actually something that can be done, and it's maybe it's not as glamorous as clamoring for change in the Congress, but it's something that I see as realistic, only because I've seen the Pride March grow, from the like thousands lang, a few thousands, to actually tens of thousands of people marching in Marikina. And so that's one of the ways I think might be a tangible way to help.
So you think the path, whether today or in the future, the path to marriage equality will be fought in Congress, or you think will be fought in the Supreme Court? Which way you think?
I think I recognize the implication of this question, but I think for my opinion is that it will have to be fought in Congress. Perhaps a Supreme Court decision might be, and this is just my take on it, premature. I don't think our Supreme Court is ready to rule in favor of same-sex marriage, only because we lack clear law on the matter, and that's just my take on it.
Okay, going away from LGBT rights for a moment. Let's talk about the state of lawyering in the Philippines. When you graduate, when you pass the bar on Friday, yung mga messages, statements from legal groups had parang one tone, which is be the glimmer of hope in this dark times. Yung mga ganyan na defend the rule of law in the Philippines. I mean, what's your take in the state of the rule of law in the Philippines? Do you think merong...
Definitely, I think, excuse me, I did, and I posted about this a lot before in beginning 2016. I think that the rule of law is being put into question. I think it's being compromised, and there is a definite need to make a stand, to make sure that the rule of law is intact. The rule of law is being challenged right now, and I think it's every lawyer's duty right now, to all the bar passers and even to existing lawyers, and even future lawyers, to make sure that they protect the sanctity of law. So yes, there are so many avenues to do this, but I hope that the lawyers right now are, considering really putting up a stand, because if we don't protect the rule of law, and who are we as lawyers? What are we left? What are we left with? I mean, we're just gonna be left to our own devices na lang na wala, any na lang.
I gathered parang maganda ata daw yung mga question nyo sa political law, and I think remedial law, parang may mga co-warrant. Parang the questions were so close to current events. Can you, ano yung pinaka na-intriga ka or pinaka natuwa kang question nung bar exams that was closely related to, and how did you answer it? Or pinaka nahirapan ka, I guess?
Actually, I guess like in terms of, I actually don't remember a question of co-warrant, oh my gosh. But I do remember a question about environmental law. It was about the precautionary principle in remedial law. And for me kasi, I like talking about the environment. I like the discussion that comes with it. For example, with the South China Sea, no? And I think the topic on the South China Sea was also close to my heart. Lahat na lang close to my heart. Pero like, yeah,
that's us millennials.
Yes.
We care about a lot of things, and our voices should be heard when we say something about it. Okay, we were saying about South China Sea.
And I think if I were to talk about a current event, I think it would have to be the South China Sea. We all know that we have sovereign rights to the natural resources in our EEZ. That is ours under international law of the sea, no? But I think what is lacking right now is the recognition that we also have the sovereign duty to protect those natural resources.
So it's putting more pressure on the Philippines itself to protect the sovereign rights.
Yes, our state, no?
Yeah.
Because we already won in at the Hague, no? And for me, that win was monumental, no? It was David versus Goliath all over again. In the same manner that Nicaragua won against the US in their time, no? And so for me, there really is a lack of, I guess, recognition of how monumental that win was for us. And I would really wish to see our government fight for our sea.
Well, in relation with that, the Supreme Court, on the day you topped the bar, issued a writ of kalikasan for the fishermen of Palawan and Zambales who were aided by the Integrated Bar of the Philippines. So now may writ of kalikasan na, and they're compelling the Duterte government to explain to the court why they haven't been able to enforce the fisheries code in the three territories in the West. Yun ba yung the types of things that you want to see and that happen?
Actually, the granting of the writ of kalikasan is very welcome, no? Because at least we can see action from our government, even if it's not the executive yet. At least there is a push, no, with respect to the judiciary. So that was actually a very welcome news.
Yeah, but the topic of sovereign rights, West Philippines, it seems so daunting. No? Anong magagawa ng mga kabataan like ourselves? Wow, like ourselves. What could you advise the young people like you to do? Basically, at this point in their age, wala pa naman silang masyadong like super magagawa. But what can they do by their own?
I think it starts with reading up on it, no? I was never like an advocate for or our rights in the South China Sea because I didn't even know we had rights, no? It was only when I started reading about it that I actually realized, what? We actually have rights 200 nautical miles from our baselines? Mga ganong ano, no? And I think it really starts with that, just reading up on it, getting to know the issues surrounding it and why there is a need to push our government to fight for our sea. Kasi baka some people have the notion na, what's wrong? It's just in the middle of nowhere anyway. What's there for us anyway? Ganon. So, for me, it has to start with reading up.
Reading up and being aware of the issues. Okay, human rights. Let's talk about human rights. I know you've answered this before. What is your take on the rampant killings in the war on drugs?
I am not against criminalizing drugs, just to be clear. No? I think criminalizing drugs is proper. But what I do not agree with is the means to carry out the law. The law is precisely there to protect people, to grant due process to those who are suspected even of possession, use, etc., what have you, of drugs. And I think extrajudicial killings, EJKs, no, compromises our rule of law because we disregard the middleman, if you will, which is our law. It skips a step to it skips a step, and a vital step at that, which will ano eh, it's it's just unfair, really. It's just
yeah.
really unfair. Especially coming from a legal background. We study about the rights in the Constitution. If we're if we resort to EJKs, what do we do? What do we make of our laws? Parang salita na lang sila, di ba? Parang written words na lang, wala namang meaning. And so, I guess I do not agree with EJKs, no? Yes, there's a definite need to address that problem. There is a need for due process.
You mentioned that you're not against criminalizing drugs. Of course, because there's a law, the Dangerous Drugs Act. What's your take on some advocates saying that there should be a shift in the lens of making it a health issue rather than a criminal issue?
Okay, agree. For example, medical marijuana. I was asked before if I was pro use of medical marijuana, and I said yes, because I think the right to health is fundamental. It should prevail over the state interest of criminalizing the use of drugs, especially if there is a clear health benefit. No, if the benefits are documented naman, if the findings are scientifically proven. I think there is a need to listen to that narrative. No, that perhaps there is a need to that perhaps the right to health should prevail over whatever state interest there is of criminalizing drugs. Kasi we can make a narrow exception naman, diba? We can carve out an exception from the general rule. And yeah.
Okay, I'm jumping from one topic to another. Let's talk about
sure, go lang.
let's talk about press freedom. Do you think there is an attack on the media right now?
Well, yes. I think it's a very veiled attack on the media. But when it starts to be consistent, persistent, and systematic, you can no longer deny it. And I think that's what's happening right now. No, I think of the issues, I am admittedly least versed in press freedom, but even I recognize it. So there is a definite. I keep saying definite. Oh my gosh. But there is a need to hold those in government accountable for the attacks on press freedom. It's a fundamental right in our Constitution, and so for me, it's really daunting how our own government is undermining that fundamental right.
And siguro to explain lang din to people that press freedom is freedom of speech, and freedom of speech is not only a right enjoyed by journalists, but enjoyed by everybody. So everybody who's on Facebook and everybody who's on Twitter or everybody who wants to say anything in the internet should protect their freedom of speech. I mean, I don't know if you've watched the news today. A man who uploaded a video, yung Bikoy, has been charged for inciting to sedition. I mean, yung mga ganyan ba, do you think it puts in peril the freedom of speech of Filipinos?
It's hard, no? It's hard. It's hard because admittedly, the freedom of speech is not absolute. There are limits to it, which we studied in law school, and
that's why there are laws like libel.
Yes, and that's why there's crimes like inciting to sedition. But I think there's a need to distinguish between what actions are clearly prejudicial, clearly present to quote our laws, which pose a clear and present danger to our society. And I think there's a need to distinguish that from actions that are clearly not to that extent, no. I think maybe we'll have to wait for what the judiciary will have to say about that. But it's very tricky because even the lines are blurred sometimes. But I think what we can do as citizens, as people of our country, is to try to argue how certain government actions can undermine the freedom of speech, no?
Do you think that, do you feel like, not exciting, I don't know if the word is exciting, pero being a new lawyer at this time and age, how do you feel? Like, exciting ba para sa'yo that you're gonna practice law in this time where there are so many legal questions? Or threatened or pressured, or ano nararamdaman mo?
Definitely not pressured because I think being in law school, what we wanted to do was just to get out of it. And now in the real world, I think I'd like to think that I'm excited for all these new issues that we'll finally confront. No, I like to think that our actions will actually have consequences. No, real tangible consequences in the real world. And so I think these are exciting times.
You work now in a firm.
I do work for...
So, meron ka na bang a short-term plans or of maybe, I don't know, moving to government or whatever? Or are you gonna stay with the firm for a while? And what does your firm, ano yung mga cases na hinahandle nila mostly?
I'm working for Gulapa Law Offices, actually, in Ortigas, and it specializes in government contracts, PPPs, infrastructure projects. And to answer your question, I think I'd like to stay with this firm, actually, to grow in the firm in the next few years. That said, government service is not no for me. I actually worked with the Supreme Court under Associate Justice Brion for some time.
Okay.
And so I saw that there was value to government service. No? Perhaps in the future, I'll consider government service. But for now, I really see myself, at least in the foreseeable future, working with my firm and growing in that firm.
You said kanina, when you were younger, you always had this goal na, okay, I'm gonna go to law school and I'm gonna top the bar. And now that you've topped the bar, meron ka bang another goal of, I'm gonna be a justice of the Supreme Court, or I'm gonna be this, I'm gonna be that. Meron ka na bang ganung dream na naiisip ngayon?
Actually, with my firm, kasi what I like about it is the nature of the work. No? I've learned that sometimes the gratification may have to be delayed. It's not like litigation where you get to speak for someone and you get to
The thrill
save
of arguing
someone's life.
in front of a judge.
Yes, exactly. Where the gratification is more immediate. This is the less, I would say, less glamorous route, less action-packed, less whoa, abogado siya route. But I think there is value to seeing, for example, your projects grow. For example, when you see airports, ports, and bridges and roads being built, and you can see that your legal mind was behind that. There is a lot of value to that. No? It's something that might be realized in the long run, but for me, I am excited to see what's in store for me in this aspect of the law.
I asked because I remember the immediate top-notchers that go to my head is like Senator Coco Pimentel is now a senator, si Soljan Florin Hilbayo is now running for senator. So wala ka bang ganung path like government? Hindi pa ngayon.
Hindi ako talaga mapolitikan tao. Honestly, but I think it's more of the government service that I'm considering. No? Perhaps the executive or the judiciary or even the legislative, no? But more of the backroom people. But politics, it's a bit far from my heart. This one's far from my heart.
That's okay. Okay, let's go to the topic of legal education reform, or if you may call it. Kasi yung laging pressing, every time pag malapit na yung bar, lahat ng mga discussion dyan is, have Philippine law schools become just bar schools? Parang, what's your take on it? Na parang there are criticisms na masyado daw tayong obsessed sa bar on having the top 10.
There is okay. I've been asked if I would like the top 10 to be taken out of existence of the Philippines. I agree, because when we put a premium on something, when we put so much, when it becomes a status symbol already, we lose sight of the fact that passing the bar is already enough. It's already a feat in itself. And with respect to your earlier question, I think there is that growing sentiment talaga that sometimes law schools tend to focus on the bar as if it's the end-all be-all of everything, which it's not. And I hope the barristers and future lawyers of this country are listening, because I really believe that there is so much more outside the bar, beyond the bar rather. And maybe there is a need to focus on holistic development in law school. For example, just to like, parang humugot lang sa experience ko. I tried to venture into moot court, which is like debate for international law. And I really saw that a person like me can grow so much in a way that's not so bar centric, in a way that will actually have significance outside of the bar. And so for me, I would really like to see law schools years from now focusing on holistic development of their students, so that they don't end with being top-notchers and then wala naman after.
And then using their legal background for bad use, mga ganon.
Yes. And if I may add lang, no, Lian, I think it really poses or increases the risk of mental health issues in law school.
Yeah, especially the pressure of studying for the bar.
Exactly. I think it creates a lot of mental health issues for students. You're already in a high pressure environment, and you add the fact or the notion that you have to pass the bar. The bar is the only thing that matters. It can become toxic. No? It can become a dark pit for many students. And I hope that the legal education, the board, or the people behind our legal system will seriously consider not being so bar-centric.
Okay, as my last question, I'm sure many people are watching you now.
Yes.
Probably they're still in law school or out of college. Sorry, what is your undergrad again?
Legal management.
Legal management from Ateneo
From
also.
Ateneo
So
also.
talagang meron ka ng, alam mo na talagang mag-lawyer.
From college.
Okay, so those who are thinking whether they should take up law or whether they should continue with law school, what's your message to them?
My message to the students, to those who want to pursue law, is to find your heart in it. Don't go into law thinking that it's a status symbol. Don't go into law because your parents, your parents rather, sorry, forced you to join law school. Because I think you need to find your heart, no, in what you're doing. And if you have the heart to do law, then by all means pursue law. Because I think your heart will take you places that you never thought you'll reach, no? And to those who think, or to those who have the heart for law but have doubts, just keep believing in yourself. As my friends always told me, alam mo, laban lang yan talaga eh. Laban lang, besh.
Laban lang,
Laban lang, besh. Kasi wala eh. Kailangan mo lang talaga lumaban eh. Gapang kung gapang. And if you want it, if you really want it, you'll get it in the end.
Okay, I'll just add one more promise last na lang. To those who failed the bar, what's your message to them to keep going, to take the bar again?
Okay, to start off, you're probably sick of what I'm about to say because it's cliche. But for me kasi, and I'd like to reiterate what I just said, if your heart is in it, if your heart is in the right place, you have no reason not to take the bar. It's grueling, yes, it's exhausting, but if it's what you're meant to do, and I think you'll get it. And I'm not just saying this as a motherhood statement. I've actually seen friends who have not passed the bar. I've seen close friends who have not passed the bar last year, but have passed this year. And so if it's just proof that if your heart is in it, if you just put in the work, you'll just get there someday.
You'll get there someday.
You'll get there.
And laban lang, besh.
Laban lang, besh.
And maybe next year you'll be top one, like Sean.
Of course.
That was Sean James Borja, the top notcher of the 2018 bar examinations. Thank you for watching Rappler Talk.